Dynasty Nerds on Better Sports Network.
Welcome back. Oh, first one in, Better Boss. It is Thursday night. You know what that means. It's Dynasty Nerds. It's Better Sports Network. We're here tonight for the next 2 hours to talk about all of your fantasy football hopes, dreams, desires. And guys, it's Scott Fishbowl season. That's right, Scott Fishbowl season, one of my favorite times of year. I am your host, Garret Price, and I am looking forward to this show tonight. We've got an awesome show lined up. First of all, I already said it. I spoiled the lead, right? Scott Fishbowl time. If you are unfamiliar with what that means, it is the largest fantasy football tournament in the world, the largest one. I have been fortunate enough to be in it the past 4 years, 5 years, something like that. I'm getting old. I remember when I was like the young, fresh face in the industry, and now I'm just like this old guy. But yeah, that means that we get to talk all about how these teams are looking, the different scoring. There's all kinds of unique things with the Scott Fishbowl. But best of all the money raised goes to Fantasy Cares, and Fantasy Cares, one of the biggest things that they do each and every year is they buy a boatload of Christmas presents for kids. And there's not many things that I can think of in life that would be better than buying Christmas presents for kids. I mean, come on. How awesome is that? So every year I buy the T-shirts. I get all the stuff because I love Scott. I love what he does with this event. I love all of the excitement and the participation around it. So it is an absolutely great time. Better Boss says he started Scott Fishbowl 13 with the McCaffrey, Eckler, Chubb stack not a stack, but the running back tree. He's going heavy RB to start out the Scott Fishbowl. I like it, especially with some of the scoring tight end, running quarterbacks, running backs. There's a little bit of boost. In my opinion, fading wide receiver a little bit is the way to go in this year's class. I will in this year's draft. I'll tell you guys a little bit about my team. For those of you in the chat that are in there, I would love to hear about your teams. Would love to hear how your lineups are looking. We are currently, I believe, we're through round 12 in my league, so very excited to talk about that. We've got some great guests on tonight. Peter, everybody knows Peter. Everybody loves Peter. We have him on every month, every 6 weeks-ish. He is back tonight. He's going to talk a little bit about the Scott Fishbowl, how he did last year. This year's a little different for him, but how he did last year. Players to avoid in 2023. What are we most looking forward to? Because I feel like players to avoid is a very negative feel, a very negative vibe. So I wanted to liven things up and not just have the doom and gloom, but what are we looking forward to in the 2023 season, right? And we're doing players to avoid in Dynasty overall. It's not necessarily in the Scott Fishbowl, because I know a lot of you guys have not had the opportunity to play in the Scott Fishbowl just yet. So players to avoid in 2023 in your Dynasty leagues, things like that. So without further ado, I think Pete is ready to go. Pete, you there, buddy? Look at this guy. Here. How's it going, man?
It's going great. How are you?
I see the Commander shirt you're rocking tonight.
Ooh.
Look at that. Is that
Dotson? Yes, sir.
I love it. Man, the chat is going nuts. That maybe it's you, Pete. I think everybody's excited to see you.
I'm excited to see me, so why not them?
All kinds of people. Day. Josh is out there. Michael Newsom's out there. Dennis Bennett. Mr. Scampers is out there. Even my boy Edward Rouse from Monday Night Rants. Better Boss, of course, is out there. I mean, we got all kinds of people here ready to talk to you. So, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Unfortunately, this year, we know not every year everyone's able to get in the Scott Fishbowl. So you did not make it in this year, but yes. Which is kind of sad because you crushed it last year.
Yeah, I made it to the finals.
Right?
On the back of a Cam Akers 36-point game that I picked off the waiver wire right before the deadline. So that was pretty epic.
Yeah, yeah. Now I'm trying to remember how many teams make it to the finals. Is it like 100? Is it like I don't
100.
remember how many teams.
100. And then I'm pretty sure my team was the 100th.
That part doesn't matter.
It was
Pete.
bad. Yep.
That part
All that
doesn't
matters
matter.
is, all that matters is you swam with Michael Phelps.
That's right.
Like you might have been 10th, but you're still in the same water with him. So
That's right. That's right.
Yep. So
Very, very cool. All right.
Yep.
Well, yes, we're not going to
Thanks, Josh.
What's that?
Josh likes my hair. I was just saying thank you.
Hey, your hair is looking good tonight, man.
Thank you.
You're looking pretty fly for a white guy.
Hey, yep, I try.
All right, Pete. So here's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to cover two things. You and I personally are not going to talk too much Scott Fishbowl other than that. I'll wait and I'll share my team. Although if you've been on Twitter, you've seen most of it. I don't think I've posted the most recent picks, but we'll talk about my team with Dennis Bennett. And then, of course, we'll go over all the trades and stuff in between our guests tonight. But with Peter here, I want to talk a few things. One, I want to talk about players to avoid. And then we're going to be getting a little more positive after our pessimistic area of the show. What we're looking forward to in the 2023 season. So, Peter, I'll let you have the honors. Is there a player or a few players, hopefully a few, that you look at either Dynasty ADP or maybe it's even just for this season, so more of like a redraft type player that you're like, I don't want them. Like, as mean as it sounds, I really don't want them. Maybe if they were a round or two later, maybe I would. But where they're at, like, I can't pull the trigger on this guy.
Oh man, there's a lot.
He's like, I'm ready to be the meanest, grouchiest cuss out of anybody. All right, let's hear it.
One of the smartest people in fantasy football, I know once said, I don't hate the player, I hate the value.
It's probably a smart person.
Yeah, very good looking too. And that it was Garrett, by the way, who said that. And did you forget that you said that?
No,
did you know?
I was just trying to be modest.
Oh, you're so humble. But currently my biggest, I'm avoiding this player in Dynasty. I have drafted this player a lot in best ball, actually.
Okay.
And that is Justin Fields.
Ooh.
Okay. So
I am very curious about this one because I love Fields.
Okay. Let me throw some stats at you.
All right, throw them at me.
So I got these stats from our friends at playerprofiler.com. Great free resource. So clean pocket percentage completion completion percentage is at 66.5%, which is 27th out of quarterbacks. Play action completion percentage, 33rd out of quarterbacks, which is 49.6%. Receiver target separation, 2.5 yards, which is actually 19th in the NFL, and catchable pass rate, which is 69.2, which is lowest. I guess technically not lowest, but 32nd.
Okay.
So the big debate with Fields is terrible offensive line, terrible weapons around him, although I love Cole Kmet and Darnell Mooney, but I get it. Right. Those are very good reasons to not be fully out on a player. My worry is they also don't prove a player. You know, it doesn't mean that he's awesome. But I look at those stats, and I also watched him play. What you want in a quarterback is consistency. He has, there's montages that of him even last year of awesome throws that he did, but in throwing, he lacked consistency. He didn't run the offense great through the air. Awesome on the ground, and he will put up a lot of fantasy football points this season. My worry is, though, that kind of play style got Chicago the first overall pick. It's not conducive to winning. And if he is not, if he can't take a Josh Allen step in his passing ability, or Jalen Hurts, in the ability to run an offense well, we might be looking at him like a Tim Tebow. I hate saying that, but Tim Tebow was drafted in the first round too, So when I am picking, he's going right now in our nerd ADP 10th overall right now. And another really smart person in the fantasy football space once said that he hates to miss with his first round pick.
It's true.
And when I am looking at trying to get a foundational piece on my team, I am much more willing to go after another, maybe a positional player there and getting like a Dak in the second round. Someone that doesn't have that ceiling, but I'm a lot more confident in long term. And so Justin Fields is my main person that I'm afraid of in Dynasty.
What you said, all good points. So I applaud you on excellent points. But here's a few things on the converse side for somebody that will be more than willing to be the one to purchase that Justin Fields. One, you talked about the Bears, Justin Fields offense got them the first overall pick. I would argue it was the Chicago Bears defense that got them the first overall pick. The most points given up in the NFL was because of their defense. They had more points than any other defense, worse than the Lions, worse than the Cardinals, worse than the Colts and Vikings. They were the worst defense as far as points given up in the NFL. Secondly, while I agree, I do have some concerns that he has not made the amount of progress that I would have liked to have seen in the first 2 years as a passer. One, he was obviously able to put up ridiculous numbers without being super effective. And two, I think part of it is he didn't trust his offense. Now, can he get to the point where he does trust it? Is the offensive line good enough? Are the wide receivers good enough to a point where he can trust them? But players can develop some bad habits where even when there's a clean pocket, they start to get antsy, even though it's a clean pocket and they can deliver a good throw. They get worried because so often they're used to getting hit early or getting flushed out early or things like that. So I think if we see a more stable offensive line and we see better performance out of the weapons this year, I think he will take a very big step forward. And also remember, one of my favorite things to talk about is guys that it's the same coach, it's the same offensive coordinator, and the same quarterback for their second year. I love seeing that because almost every single time, without fail, that quarterback improves on their previous year when it was their first year with that new offensive coordinator, new head coach, all of that kind of stuff. So,
I'm very happy you said that though, Garrett.
Yes,
because this is my worry though. Okay. So it's the same offensive system that ran the ball so much in negative game script.
It's true. Early in the season.
No,
it wasn't as bad later in the season.
They averaged 100 passing yards in the last 3 games. In their last 3 games,
and Justin Fields was hurt for one of those games.
Okay. But good point. He's not even on the field. But it is. So here's the thing: is this is actually, spoiler alert, one of the things I'm looking forward to this season.
Yeah,
because there's such this. He was in a terrible situation, but he didn't quite look at, so there's this thing that hopefully we'll figure out who really is Justin Fields this year.
And that's 100% fair because he does, he has to show, we'll agree on this part for sure. He does need to show improvement as a passer this year. If we see the same thing that we saw last year, then they are in a position where they could decide if they want to move on or look at a different quarterback. I think he will show enough improvement that they're not going to need to do that. I think their record is going to be good enough that they wouldn't even be in a position to be able to do that this year. I think, they'll be closer to, maybe a 10th pick or something like that, as opposed to a bottom 3 pick again this year. So I do think we're going to see enough improvement as a passer this year to where we don't have to worry about that quite as much. All right. My guy, that I'm picking as somebody that I want to avoid. Now, this is more of a redraft take, more so than a dynasty take. So this is according to the Fantasy Pros redraft ADP, not our nerds dynasty ADP. So I'm pulling from both when I'm doing this today. But the one that I want to avoid here, and honestly, there's a little bit of avoidance in Dynasty as well, but it's Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne right now, running back 13, but the running backs behind him, Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, Gibbs, like there's a lot of running backs behind him that I would much rather have this year. And part of it is I hate players that I can't count on consistently. Players that give me 30 points one week and 3 points the next week are one of the most frustrating because look, you're drafting them as a running back 2. I don't need my running back 2 to win me my week. I need my running back 2 to be consistently good. That's all I need. I need my running back 1 at times to give me the Christian McCaffrey level stuff and that kind of stuff. But the running back 1 or the running back 2, I need that guy to be consistent for me. And so, and then on top of it, Josh just talked about it. I'm worried about Tank Bigsby. I think that there will be a larger committee approach this season than we saw last year. Even when James Robinson was first there, he took a lot of carries those first few games. Now, he wasn't doing a lot with those carries, so he got shipped out of town. But that is something I'm concerned about. So for me this year, and I'm saying this year, but honestly, it's Dynasty too. I just think he's somebody that I want to avoid. I'm not willing to pay the price to get a Travis Etienne when there's other players in redraft and in Dynasty that I would prefer to have above him. Peter, what do you think?
Man, this chat is going off right now with great points.
Really
Michael saying Doug Peterson loves the committee, which is true. And you saw that, like you're saying with James Robinson, they wanted to have both running backs splitting the ball. And then James doing an awesome trading him
James.
for Gibbs. Awesome job. But yeah, I agree. He was actually on my sheet.
Oh, he was on your list too? There we go.
Yeah. But I agree. He's kind of a beefed up version of Tevin Coleman, where he's just kind of that one cut runner. But he doesn't have a lot of side to side. And I look at his game versus like a running back like Tank, and kind of brings me into another one of my players that I'm afraid of.
All right.
Can I take
do it?
Yep. Kenneth Walker.
Yeah.
So with Tank, I look at Tank and I think there's a part of me that thinks he's a more well-rounded running back than Travis Etienne. How do you pronounce that name?
Just think of it as letters. The letter E, the letter T, and then the letter N.
This is the best place to ask how to pronounce things on
live on the air.
Live. Yeah. Same thing with Zach Charbonnet. Is I look at his game and why Seattle drafted him, and he's a better, well-rounded player than Kenneth Walker is. Kenneth Walker has strengths.
That's a bold take because I'm with you on the Kenneth Walker fading him, but I'm not. You might have to win me over, but I'm willing to listen.
Yeah. So Zach Charbonnet is better in pass catching. He's a better pass catcher. You would agree with that? Okay. So you look at Seahawks. They always have this pass catcher running back, whether it's Travis Homer, DJ Dallas, or JD McKissic.
I'm gonna laugh when DJ is the leading rusher for this team this year.
Oh man, I would love that. Right there, I would love that. So there has always been a pass catching running back role. But also there has been a between the tackles role that, surprisingly enough, Rashad Penny really did great in. He was actually ultra efficient 2 years ago. Kenneth Walker comes in. He was fine between the tackles. He wasn't great. Where Walker was really awesome was outside the tackles on those zone plays, out, stretch, all that stuff. So I think that on the 1 or 2 yard line, Charbonnet has a really good shot of being there on those down the middle, safe plays. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Charbonnet also he didn't fumble the ball in college.
No, he was really good at ball protection. And you're right. Even though I think Kenneth Walker might be the slightly better runner. I'll take that back. I think he is the better. I think he's the better, true, pure runner of the football. I think he's better than Zach Charbonnet. But you're absolutely right. I worry about the valuable touches. I worry about the pass catching and the goal line work because of the size and the hands. So while I think that Kenneth Walker might be better, and I think he might get more touches, I worry about what those touches are. So I'm with you.
Yeah, exactly. Like if I can have the pass catching work and the goal line work in Charbonnet, then that's a value. But also with Walker, I'm starting to worry about he will have a role and he will have great games, but I'm worried about him long term.
All right, so we actually have a couple questions here. Normally, I save the questions for between segments, but I'm going to get to both of them because I think they do kind of pertain more so than trades. I think they do kind of pertain to our discussion here. So Michael Anthony says, am I crazy for staying away from Brees this year because of the ACL and the possibility of Dalvin Cook coming in? And honestly, I don't think you're crazy. Now, if you're wanting to stay away from him long-term because of those things, then I would say, yeah, you're crazy because I think Brees, dynasty-wise, is easily a top 5 back. But if you're looking specifically for this season, I think there's some very legitimate concerns for Brees Hall this year. The possibility of Dalvin Cook coming in, even if Brees Hall is still the main running back, I think a guy that would be getting 17 to 20 touches a game is now getting 12 to 15. And that hurts. That hurts your overall value. And the ACL stuff, we'll see what happens. But most players take a year until they're back up to full speed. There are exceptions to the rule, and man, am I crossing my fingers that Javonte Williams is that exception. But more often than not, it takes a full year for these guys to really recover, even after coming back. So I don't think you're crazy for avoiding him this year. Peter, your thoughts?
Yeah, at the end of the day, if you don't know what to do, stick with history, and historically, running backs with ACL struggled their first year back. So I don't think you're crazy. If anything, it would be more crazy to think that Brees Hall is going to be the top 5 RB this year, which I think he can be, but that would be very surprising, especially earlier in the season. But I agree. It's long term. If I am in any kind of rebuilding, or like if I'm a productive struggle type build, I'm trying to trade for Kyler Murray and Brees Hall.
Yes.
And then try to get a high first next year.
Yep. Brees is an absolute buy in Dynasty. I am not worried after this season, but I am worried for this season. The other question Michael Newsom asks, who was it that asked? Somebody was asking about Lockett. Oh, there we go. We've got so much chat engagement tonight. It's hard for me to find all this
man.
stuff. Brainburst says, where do you guys stand on Tyler Lockett? Now, even though he's wearing a Commanders shirt, he is also a Seahawks fan, which
because I was an idiot growing up.
I'm not.
And I thought
sure
Washington
was
the same thing.
I
thought it was Washington State Redskins. So that's why.
Is that really why that happened?
I was homeschooled, man. I didn't get out much.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and so it was one of those things that I always loved the Seahawks, but there was a part of me that was like, why don't I see a lot of?
I thought that was something you picked up while you were living in the Carolinas for a while, right?
So yeah, so it's one of those things that Seahawks were always number one because that was the area. But when I was able to make the choice, like cognitively,
right,
that's when I chose the Commanders, and Commanders won, Seahawks close second. Bad choice. But yeah, in my mind growing up, it was like, it's the same state. Why do we have two different teams? But I like them both. But,
so funny. All right. So how are we feeling about Lockett? Is he somebody that now, obviously, dynasty wise, we know he doesn't carry a ton of value. He's an aging asset. But for this year, and I think the biggest question is, well, there's two. One, does Geno Smith repeat what he did last year? Is he able to be the same type of quarterback, have defenses figured him out? Or is he a solid guy? And two, how much does JSN cut into Tyler Lockett? So what are your thoughts on him this year? Is he undervalued? Is he overvalued? Is he adequately valued? Like, what are your thoughts on him?
So I would say that he is undervalued simply because he is Tyler Lockett. But let me look up his ADP really fast. And an underdog. I had his Dynasty ADP. But just a couple thoughts. So first off, with JSN, I am not that worried about target competition between him and JSN because they're two different types of players. It even kind of reminds me of when Doug Baldwin and Tyler Lockett played together. They weren't really that competitive with targets or Jermaine Kearse. That's probably a better example with Baldwin. But Lockett, how he makes fantasy points happen is down the field. He's one of the best deep route runners in the game. And JSN will eat in the short and medium routes. So I'm not concerned with that. I think if anything, it's just going to keep the team on the field longer because GSN will be converting those first downs. So I'm not worried about that. Geno showed a lot of surprisingly a lot of like they clicked really well. You know, it was kind of like one of those like, wow, Russell Wilson and Tyler Lockett have so much chemistry, and then all of a sudden it was Geno Smith, and I was like, they have the same chemistry. Like, was that Tyler Lockett? Was that the system? Was it, you know, like,
and then he's been a backup there for a while, so that helps.
Yeah. But Geno had some crazy numbers throwing the ball down the field, and that might go down a little bit. But ultimately, if you have DK Metcalf, JSN, and Tyler Lockett, you can't shut that down with the defense very well. So overall, I think that Tyler Lockett is very undervalued. He is currently going off the board at wide receiver 33 and underdog. And it's one of those things that historically, if you don't know what to do, stick with the history. And he was wide receiver 13 last year.
Peter, your cat just scared the tar out of me.
Oh man.
He's the black cat, and the room behind you is dark, and all of a sudden the shadow just moved behind you. I was terrified. Yeah, Charlie. I was shooketh.
But yeah, so if I can get wide receiver 13, I think for wide receiver 33 value, I'm going for it.
I mean, even if you can get wide receiver 24 value, you know,
30,
like a low end wide receiver 2, you're thrilled at his current price. So I'm with you. I think as much as I want JSN to cut in, I don't think that there's going to be a huge. What I do worry about, though, is, and we see this a lot from younger players, when you need Tyler Lockett the most, is that when the cut in will start in weeks 14, 15, 16, 17. Is that when we start to see the takeover happen? That's my biggest concern, because I'm not worried about it earlier in the year, but I do worry about it come playoff time when I'm going to need Tyler Lockett the most.
And that is the beauty of Tyler Lockett, though, because in theory, he's going to be your wide receiver 3 or 4,
right?
Value-wise. So if that starts happening, you know, you can pivot. Hopefully, if you're competing, hopefully you have the depth to, you know, he's not going to be your wide receiver 1 or 2. Hopefully,
right. All right. Michael did ask, is there any hope for Zamir? There's always hope for Zamir. He is amazing, and
Josh Jacobs is holding out, man.
I know there's rumors. There's rumors about him holding out. Same thing with Barkley. You know, neither one is very happy with their current situation. So we'll see how all of that ends up playing out. But all right, let's get into, you know, you just went. So my turn here, and a player that I am avoiding. This one is more on the dynasty side of things. So I'm converting back, but it's Dameon Pierce. And I know some people love Dameon Pierce. And I know that
also
he did produce.
List.
Huh? He's also on your list?
Yeah.
Okay. I get it. But here's the problem. Oh, my producer, Tyler, is not very happy with me right now.
Sorry, Tyler.
Here's why. One, guys like to get their guy. So anytime that there's a new coaching staff, especially on the easier to replace positions, and running back is one of the most easily replaceable positions in the NFL, they like to get their guy in there. So that's a big concern.
Devin Singletary.
Right. But that's the nice part about Dameon Pierce. Here's the beauty of it. I still think this season will be good enough, especially 3, 4, 5 weeks into the season, that you'll be able to ship him off for something good. But after this year, I think there's a very high likelihood that either via the draft or via free agency, they get their guy. He's a 4th round pick, so they don't have a lot invested in him. He started off the year good, but his second half of the season was nothing to get excited about. He really faded into obscurity that second half of the season, but I think people are still, their earliest memory of him was him succeeding, and so they're holding on to that. So I would say at this point, as much as Dameon Pierce has some ability, there are things other than ability that NFL teams look at, and it's what's your draft capital, how much are we paying you, and is there somebody else that can do your job? And I think all of those questions are, like
it is hard because I mean he's kind of the new Chris Carson, and just the guy tries his best.
Yeah.
And he's awesome. He's got that dog in him, but currently he's being drafted in Dynasty ADP ahead of Miles Sanders, George Pickens, Kincaid, DeAndre Swift, Jameson Williams, Chris Godwin, all those players that I would much rather have over Dameon Pierce. So,
and even just at running back, you mentioned Sanders and Swift. I would much rather have both of those guys in Dynasty. Yeah. And Sanders this year and Dynasty both. I don't know about Swift for this year, but both those guys for Dynasty. And I think these two players have the same window more than likely, Joe Mixon and Dameon Pierce. I think they have the similar window, but I think in that window, Joe Mixon has the higher upside. So there are several running backs going after him. Aaron Jones is going quite a few picks after him. Alexander Madison is going quite a few picks after. Like I personally would rather all of those guys to Dameon Pierce.
Yeah.
All right. You got any more, Pete?
Oh man, I have too many.
You have too many?
I will just say I will have one more.
All right.
Unless you want more, but I think that's
my buddy Ed wants us to stop on Tyler Lockett.
Okay.
He said we're not allowed to talk about him anymore.
It's the easiest take ever to say that he's undervalued. It's every season is the same thing. So Daniel Jones, I don't like him very much.
Okay, so for redraft or for Dynasty?
Both.
Okay, so you and Rich are gonna have to have some words.
Yeah, and here's the hard thing is I think what he did last year is not talked enough as an outlier.
Okay.
What he did was his previous all-time high in rushing was 423 yards. Mm-hmm. Last year he had 708 and 7 touchdowns. Last time his previous all-time high in that was 2. So for example, if you give him everything from last year and you insert his second highest season in rushing, it puts him as quarterback 16 or 17. Mm-hmm. His passing stats were terrible. I don't know if they're going to get much better. I like Waller a lot, but if he's your number one target, I don't think that's a great offense still.
It's definitely better than what they had last year, but I agree. It's still not a good receiving core.
So I think defenses in theory, defenses should be able to figure out how to stop Daniel Jones, even though I've said that so many times when Commanders played him, in theory, like just stop him from running. Yeah. He's Daniel Jones, stop him. But it was such a weird outlier. It's like one of those times that if a quarterback has like a 9% touchdown rate, you don't really expect him to keep that up.
Continue that. Now, do you think Dable, because Dable is the connecting piece to that outlier season, do you think that is still a fluke, or do you think he had a major impact on that?
So the issue for me is I don't know. So Where he's being drafted, though, there's a lot of other valuable players going around that, and he's kind of this missing link between veteran quarterbacks and younger, higher valued quarterbacks. And he's going in like late third, early fourth rounds of Dynasty. And for me, he's such a big question mark, and I'm not sure what to expect from him this year. I would much rather get position players there that I know what will be, and then get a Jared Goff in round 5 or 6, or one of those players that are Kirk Cousins, that I know who they are, and I just trust a little bit more.
So do you like Goff and Cousins straight up more than you like Daniel Jones, or is it more the roughly round and a half ADP difference between those guys?
The ADP difference.
Okay.
And also, though, if I would project them higher this year, in redraft.
Okay.
But, yeah.
All right. Another one from me here that I am avoiding this year, and I'm low key avoiding in Dynasty too. And this one might be a little bit hot takey, but we've touched on it on the Dynasty Nerds podcast. I'm not sold on this player. It's George Pickens. I'm not sold on George Pickens at all.
Another one on my list.
Look at that. We struggled in the beginning. We disagreed on Fields, but we've been pretty simpatico since. George Pickens, look, the separation numbers are very concerning for me. And especially in today's NFL, if George Pickens was in the NFL in 2001, it might be a little bit different than him playing in 2023. But right now, look, he is a player that can make some fantastic highlight catches. And I get how fun and exciting it is to see a dude falling down, grabbing it with one hand, bringing it back. Like, that's awesome. But if you can't regularly separate, you're just not going to get the target volume. You're just not in today's NFL. They're not just going to continually throw it up to you unless you are an elite of the elite receivers. And I don't think he is. I don't think he's DeAndre Hopkins. I don't think he's a guy like that. And so if you are not that guy, then chances are they're going to look other places. And that's part of the reason I'm so in on Deontay Johnson this year, because I think the complete opposite of what happened to him last year is going to happen this year. We're going to see way more touchdowns. Obviously, it would take one to have way more touchdowns than last year, infinitely more than he had last year with one. But I think we'll see, better efficiency. I think this offense, another one where, even though I'm not the biggest Kenny Pickett guy, it's another system where same head coach, same offensive coordinator, and same quarterback for their second season. You almost always see that boost. So I am out on Pickens, but I am definitely in on Deontay Johnson.
Yep. Okay, this sounds terrible.
Okay.
This might get me kicked off.
Oh, no.
But George Pickens is a souped-up version of Keelan Cole. So
I actually don't hate that.
Keelan Cole had some highlight. He had some sick catches. And there were a couple seasons this is the year he's going to break out. But he's not DeAndre Hopkins, and he just was never able to separate. Do I think he's going to be as bad as Keelan Cole is or was? Is he still in the league? I don't know.
If he is, it's not in any significant sense. He's probably on a practice squad or something like that somewhere.
But yeah, I think he'll be a back end wide receiver 2-3 kind of area. But yeah, I don't see it.
Yeah, Michael Anthony saying Gabe Davis, a big avoid for him as well. Yeah. Absolutely. Even though I'm not in on I'm not necessarily in on Kincaid this season, I think he'll be annoying enough to Gabe Davis that it's going to make probably Diggs the only startable pass catcher in that offense, is what I'm guessing. Better Boss says heavy on Steelers this season. Pickett, Najee, Johnson stacks. Love that. Not necessarily for the Pickett part, but I love Najee and I love Deontay Johnson this year. They are two of my most frequently targeted players in trades this year because of how undervalued they've been. Now, I think people are starting to catch up on those two and realize that the market overcorrected on those guys. And so it's normalizing a little bit. but I still think both guys are values, but it's not as significant a value as it was back in March, April, May. Like back then, you were getting such a steal on those players. Now it's starting to catch up a little bit and not be quite the value that it once was. Like Deontay Johnson is now up at wide receiver 33, pick 81. A while back, let's see, I could even just click on the May Superflex ADP here. Back then, just back in May, he was down at pick 97. 98th. He was the 98th player off the board, wide receiver 38. So he's moved 10 players and 5 wide receivers since just in the past 2 months. And it was even worse before that. So, Peter, if it's okay with you, normally I would have you hopping off here, but we haven't even touched on what we're looking forward to in 2023. Are you okay taking a break, coming back, and we'll talk for a little bit more on players or what we're looking forward to in 23?
Yes, please.
All right, let's do that. Let's take a quick break. When we get back, Peter's gonna stay a little longer, and we'll talk about what we're looking forward to in 2023. Stay tuned.
Breece Hall right now, and I've talked to plenty of high-stakes players, I'm sure you have too, Kev. Had Hall not torn his ACL last year, he might have been the 101 in drafts this year. That's how good he was looking last year, and obviously with the addition of Aaron Rodgers. At the 305, running back 11 behind Derrick Henry and Ramondre Stevenson, right ahead of Jahmyr Gibbs and Najee Harris. Your thoughts on him as a mid-third round pick? How have you been attacking him? Have you been getting him at that spot so far this year?
Yeah, if I start out with 2 wide receivers, Breece Hall is right at the top of the queue coming into the third. If I knew he'd be healthy for week 1, I was still a little.
Well, he'd be going higher than the mid third.
Right. He may go 101 or RB1 at least.
Yeah.
But I don't think we know that even if he's healthy in spring and the summer.
Mm-hmm.
I still like if I'm running a team, if I'm the coach, I'm bringing him back slow. Like he's on a pitch count. Like I want him for the end of the season because I got Aaron Rodgers for the playoffs, right? Like even if he's fully healthy, I would work him in slow. But that is actually what you want. Like he's still going to get the high value touches. So yeah, if we know he's healthy, he's a first rounder. So like if he's sitting there in the third, especially when I get 2 wide receivers to start, I'll take Hall all day.
Yeah, it almost makes me think that the uncertainty with Breece Hall has made him unfairly fall too far, right? Like because we're talking about the team here in June. They're still hoping that he's ready for week 1. This is not, we'll see what happens. We're taking it day by day. We're liking how he's coming along. No, they still think by week 1. And the fact that we have that timeline, I think, maybe bumps him up, especially as the drafting season gets deeper and deeper here in July and August. Maybe we start seeing him go up the boards as well.
Welcome back in, Dynasty Nerds, at Peter Bartausky, joining me here live on Better Sports Network. We just touched on players we're avoiding. We got real dark. It got real heavy. We got real negative. I don't like that. I don't like leaving on that kind of note. So let's get a little more optimistic here, Peter. Let's talk about what we're looking forward to in 2023. That could be a questionable player. That could be a rookie breakout. That could be just something about football in general. Could be whatever you want. Very open-ended here. Peter, you did already mention you're looking forward to seeing Justin Fields with the a little bit of animosity around, what his outlook could be. Heavy T says he loves the negativity. I think he wants us to get back into the negative talk here. But Peter, what's one thing you're looking forward to this 2023 season? But before you answer, don't do it yet. I got to tell you guys about Fantasy Alarm. That's right. Fantasy Alarm, fantasy football draft guide, and all pro subscription. The MLB All-Star break is the time to start preparing for fantasy football season. Fantasy Alarm's All-Pro subscription has everything you need to win, including the draft guide. The draft guide, look, normally it is $26.99, which is very worth it, by the way. But you could get it absolutely free if you use the monthly or annual All-Pro subscription to Fantasy Alarm. Start your free 7-day trial of Fantasy Alarm All-Pro and get immediate free access to that draft card guide. Go to fantasyalarm.com. All right, Peter, now you can tell us what you're looking forward to in the 2023 football season.
Oh, man. Okay, so first of all, really fast on Justin Fields. I really hope I'm wrong, by the way.
Okay.
So I love Justin Fields.
You want him to succeed?
I want him to succeed.
Okay.
And I think the Bears deserve to have a quarterback that can throw more than 3 yards. But anyway.
You know what could happen next year? Rich and I were talking about this. This would make my heart so happy because I'm a Fields guy and because I'm a Buckeyes guy.
Yep.
They have multiple picks next year. If they work out a way to get up to either the second or third pick and get Marvin Harrison Jr., pair him back up with his former college quarterback, whoo, that would make me excited. All right, continue, Peter.
Straight up awesome. So first off, I think we have a lot of teams that were good, that were even surprisingly good last year. Teams like the Lions, Seahawks, Jaguars, they were surprises. You know, everyone kind of thought that they would be a top 5 pick. You know, they would disappoint. I am excited to see which of those teams take it from good to great, because historically that's even harder to do.
Right.
But if you're able to get to that, you know, I really hope it's the Lions, you know, a team like that has historically been pretty disappointing, but this is their shot. You know, they can level up, become that 11-12 win team, and really mark a beginning of a really cool era. You know, same thing with the Seahawks, Dolphins, Jaguars, even teams like the Steelers. You know, they could take a step forward, but that is one of the most exciting things for me, is just seeing which of these good teams are really going to take that step up.
Yeah, no, that is always a fun one to see. Those teams that you're like, you're telling me there's a chance. Like, I see it in you. I see what you could be. And when that actually starts to come to fruition and they actually start to be one of those elite top, you know, like we saw that with like the Bills recently, I think is a good example, where they went from just being awful and being doormats to being pretty solid. And then all of a sudden they're one of the best teams in the NFL. Like, I think that's a good example of a team that did that recently. All right. So one of the things that I'm looking forward to, and this is cheating a little bit because it's not even the regular season yet, but I'm really, your cat scared me again. It happened again. I'm really looking forward to Hard Knocks. I'm really looking forward to seeing the Jets on Hard Knocks with Aaron Rodgers. This new
that's one of my
here. I think it's going to be really fun. I'm excited to see the behind the scenes. Like, how's the dynamic with Zach Wilson and Rodgers? Does Garrett Wilson level up? Sauce Gardner is so dynamic. Breece Hall's injury recovery. Like, there's a lot on this team. And that's one of those teams that you kind of just mentioned that could go from, like, they showed us some stuff last year. Like, they look like a pretty good team that could become one of the best teams in the league, depending on how far Rodgers can take them. So that's one that I'm really excited to see. I'm excited to watch Hard Knocks, all the drama, all that stuff. It's going to be awesome. Heavy T says Hard Knocks is going to open up with Rodgers asking Wilson if he thinks 9/11 was conspiracy.
If I can
go ahead.
I can pick one quarterback to have to deal with the New York media and make it entertaining, it is entirely Aaron Rodgers.
Absolutely.
Just the way that he holds himself and just his funny little quips. I'm really excited for that.
Quick side question, because Heavy T was talking about the conspiracy theories. What's your favorite conspiracy theory?
So currently, my favorite one is, so apparently I have not been on this. But Washington Memorial, the big old spike in the ground,
Right.
there's an elevator, and you can go up to the top. But
Right.
there are certain parts of that elevator that fog up,
Right.
because there are certain spots that, like on the brick, people wrote messages and stuff. But there are always the same spots on the elevator that all of a sudden fog up. And I was like, what do they say? No one really knows.
Interesting.
Yeah. Or in
Interesting.
theory, I read it on the internet.
I would say one of my favorites is there's a conspiracy theory that Lady Gaga is actually a murderer, and she like stole this chick's identity and then killed her more or less to like take the fame that she was starting to gain.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's dark.
It is.
Why is that one your favorite?
Because it seems so outlandish that it sounds fantastic.
Wow. Yeah.
Heavy T says he has one, but he would have to hop on to explain it. Peter, this show's going off the rails a little bit, but I'm going to have him jump on because I want to hear. I want to hear about this. Go ahead, Heavy T. Hop on. Tell us your conspiracy theory that you love.
So mine is a sports-related conspiracy theory.
Okay.
But the theory is that the Baltimore Orioles purposely turned off the lights in order to preserve Cal Ripken's streak, because supposedly he beat up Kevin Costner for having an affair with his wife and was going to be late to the game and wasn't going to be able to start.
Did you listen to the podcast on that?
I have not. I did not know there was a podcast. I'm gonna have to.
There's a podcast on it where these two like die-hard Baltimore Oriole fans, and it's like 5 or 6 episodes on this specific conspiracy theory, and it's a really fun listen.
Okay,
it's a really fun. I'm not gonna spoil their like conclusion, but it's very entertaining.
Okay, I'm gonna go looking for that as soon as we're done here. So I will definitely. Check that out.
I will. If you can't find it, let me know and I'll find it for you. But yeah, it came out probably about like a year or two ago, and yeah, it's more or less Kevin Costner and Cal Ripken Jr. get in a fight, and he was too banged up, running late, like he wasn't going to be able to play. But some of the other theories that come out of this are almost just as fascinating. Like there's more conspiracy theories that form out of this conspiracy theory. It's very interesting.
All right. I will definitely check this out. I'll let you know when I find it.
All right. Sounds good, man. Better Boss says the Presidential Book of Secrets is his favorite conspiracy theory. We actually recently watched, because my father-in-law loves this movie. We recently watched National Treasure.
Yep.
Yes.
I was about to ask you. That was my movie when it came out.
Was it really? You're a big Nicky Cage guy?
Riley was my favorite character.
Oh, okay.
But oh man, such a good movie.
Love it. So Data Fork says he loves the conspiracy theory about the moon landing being faked. It's a good one too. A lot of good conspiracy theories. Edward says that his is that Heavy T actually hates pickles. I feel like there's a story or a joke or something that I missed in that. So I would love to see or hear the full context. We might need to get the full context on that one because I would be interested in that as well. Heavy T says he legitimately hates pickles. I'm with you. I don't like pickles either. I don't think they're good.
Really?
No. Well,
I love pickles.
Here's the other problem for me is I have the palate of like a 9-year-old.
Okay.
So I'm that guy that's like you take me to a fancy restaurant and I'm like, I don't think any of this sounds good. Like none of this sounds like something I want to eat. You take me to like Chick-fil-A, you take me to Taco Bell, you take me to like those places. I'll eat anything on the menu.
Brutal.
But yeah, you take me to like those fancy places and stuff, and I like it's like my wife's like, seriously, like you're an adult. Why are you getting chicken tenders at this restaurant?
Oh man. See, you wouldn't have survived my house growing up. There was a year, okay, that we only ate raw food. No cooked food.
What?
Raw food diet only. I lost 40 pounds.
You're making this up. This is not true.
Nope.
This sounds like a conspiracy theory all in of itself. Wait,
this was my life.
Wait.
Raw food diet.
You didn't cook
It's a real
anything?
thing. Nope.
No burgers.
Nope. Well,
No,
we had
like-
burgers, but they were like
Raw?
some kind of bean. No, it was like a bean burger type thing.
Wait, so how did you like cook it though?
No,
You didn't cook it?
No, no cooking.
So it's just a
Raw food.
cold beans smashed together?
Mm-hmm.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. Even
Did
this
your
is the funny
mom lose a
thing.
dare? Like what happened here?
So she had like a health thing that she actually kind of apparently needed to.
Oh, okay.
And
All
we
right,
were
that's
like,
different
okay,
then.
we'll just all do it together. But the funny thing is this was on a beef ranch. Like we butchered cows during this time.
Peter, I
Sometimes
feel like
life
we
doesn't
need a
make sense.
segment to just hear about your life.
Oh yeah, probably.
Like I feel like we need maybe not a segment, maybe even an entire show where Peter just breaks down the nuances and oddities of being Peter.
Yep.
I feel like that would be one of our most well-watched shows.
Peter Therapy Day. I love it.
Yeah. Wow. So raw foods
Raw
only.
food. Yep. That was. I remember. So there were a couple times that my dessert. This was my dessert. Like on super special days, I was able to have cooked rice. It was just straight up cooked rice.
I thought you were gonna say like ice cream because you don't cook ice cream. Like
Cooked rice. And like I had a great life. It wasn't like a bad thing. Like it was just how it was.
right.
And yeah, cooked rice.
That was a
Then
treat.
I started. Yeah. Oh yeah, I was so excited for rice. And I was like 12.
I'm flabbergasted. Like I truly don't know how to respond to this.
That's great. It was great. Great part of my life.
So you went an entire year.
Yeah.
Then so I'm assuming then more or less you had no sugar then, right?
No. Oh, there were like I would probably say about 15 years of my life I didn't have sugar. Like no sugar.
You had to be
Other than
whipped.
like fruit. No. See, that's the hard thing is I was a little chubster. But because I ate a whole bunch.
So you would just eat a lot of not tasty food.
Yeah, like beet kvass was my favorite, which is fermented beets. It's a Russian thing. I'm not even Russian.
What is this called?
Beet kvass is like
That sounds
fermented-
inappropriate.
Nope,
It sounds like you
it's
just
not.
swore.
Happy calling me Dwight Schrute. It's actually pretty. Yeah, I can see it. I never thought of that, but I do share a lot of things with Dwight.
Huh.
Yeah. My mom made kombucha before it was cool too.
Did you grow up with a lot of like the German like nursery rhymes and wives' tales and things like that like Dwight did too?
No. Josh Michael Landon is not my father, but we watched the crap out of Little House on the Prairie and Hogan's Heroes and MASH.
Peter, you are one of the most interesting people I've ever met, bar none.
And here's the last one.
I don't even know
Josh.
how to continue with fantasy football right now.
Okay, Josh. So you know how he says that I need to had my own channel? I used to have my own channel on YouTube. And this was freshman year of high school, y'all. I reviewed Star Wars action figures on YouTube. And I had a following on YouTube.
Wait, you didn't review Star Wars.
No,
you reviewed
Star Wars action figures.
Star Wars action figures.
Yes. So I would hold it up to the camera, and like one of the biggest things that I would review it on was like the articulation. Like you would want all the swivels.
Right.
And I had like over 115 videos of different action figures. And I had a following. I did a good
Which
job.
means you had to buy all of these.
Yeah.
Did you get to the point where they would just send them to you for free?
No, I didn't have that big of a following.
I mean, if you buy 115, like I feel like, buy 100, get 15 free. Like, I feel like that should have been a promotion.
No, that makes sense. No one beat me up, Josh. I was homeschooled. That's the thing.
You know what,
no one could beat me up.
Josh used to be a huge fan of the show. Now he says that you need your own channel to dump me, and he didn't even give me the dignity of spelling my name right. Like, he's all out. He's all out. He's
Garret.
like, this show sucks. I'm Team Peter forever.
Man, I kind of feel like I took over the show. I'm sorry.
This has been one of the most fascinating segments I've ever done. You have nothing to apologize for.
We also hunted deer during our raw food time.
But you didn't eat it.
No, we froze it.
So
yeah.
So what did you do with it?
We froze it.
For who?
Us. It wasn't like a long time thing.
So you froze it for when the year was up?
Yeah. Anyway. What are my top 3 Star Wars action figures? Commander Cody, a Clone Wars version. You got the classic Darth Vader. And then I'll go... let's go General Grievous, Clone Wars version.
See, cool. I only know who one of those people are. I don't know the rest.
You don't know General Grievous? He's the robot with all the arms that fought Obi-Wan Kenobi in Episode 3.
I vaguely remember Episode 3. Vaguely. Here's the thing. I'm not the biggest Star Wars guy.
I'm not anymore.
Really?
Mm-mm.
But you had a whole channel devoted to just their action figures.
I'm not anymore, Garrett.
How
transferred all of the obsession until I went to my high school youth group, and people were like,
"You did this in like middle school."
Yeah. And then
Peter,
in freshman year,
please find these videos.
Oh, I can send you one. Yeah.
I would love to see one of these.
And it was freshman year, and then someone was like, "Ooh, what do you do?" And I'm like, I don't think this is cool. You know what? I don't think this is cool. And so I stopped. There's one video that I dressed up as different guests, and I debated which is better, Lord of the Rings or Chronicles of Narnia. And people freaking destroyed me on YouTube.
Peter, I'm so sorry. I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing at you.
No, you should laugh at me.
I am just part of how I make a living is by talking. And I have no words to say about all of this. You dressed up as different people to debate yourself between Lord of the Rings and what was it?
Chronicles of Narnia.
Chronicles of Narnia, Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. This is amazing.
Yep. So, okay. Oh, man. I don't know if I can share it on stream. It's still on YouTube.
Are we able to get this?
It is technically, it has over 1,000 views 12 years ago.
Put the link in our chat.
Oh,
and
man.
Tyler might be able to put it up.
Okay. This is so embarrassing.
This is amazing.
Okay.
This is one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me.
Here's the link.
It's like accepting Jesus, getting married, having kids, this moment.
Okay. Send the link in the chat.
All right.
Oh man.
All right. Tyler, are you able to get this and put it up on the screen? Will that work? I know we've watched a couple videos in here before, so I think this should work. He said he's working on it. All right. This could be now. Is this the one where you dressed up as the characters, or which one is this?
Lord of the Rings versus Chronicles of Narnia.
Oh my
So
God.
I didn't dress up as characters. I dressed up as different people saying their thoughts
Okay.
about the movies.
Okay. All right. I love it.
And my
I love
favorite thing is people actually are like debate me in the
They
comments.
debate you in the comments?
Like they're serious.
Oh, so you're not getting trolled. These are people that are avid fans of Lord of the Rings or Chronicles of Narnia that are debating along with your fake debate.
Yeah.
That's even better.
Yeah. No, it's crazy, man.
All right. He says about
so-
10 minutes. We just need like a couple clips. That's all we need.
So fast forward to 4 minutes and 24 seconds.
Okay. 4 minutes, 24 seconds.
You can see my action figures in the background.
Oh
This is one of my characters.
Okay. I think that's it. Oh, one more thing. I think I like the music too. I have the soundtrack. And yeah, it's awesome. It's way more awesomer than Narnia. I mean Lord of the Rings. Sorry, I kinda messed up there. Okay. I think later. Okay, let's go.
I have, by the way, that's a lion puppet
Hi.
that I refer to as Aslan. Oh yeah, this is the next
Oh, yeah,
character.
the guy.
A big fan of Lord of the Rings. I really like the books
No.
because I'm so excited to be on.
Yeah, that was a lion
It's
puppet.
so awesome. It's like the sun is shining. I wish there was rainbow though. I love rainbows. They're like all colorful. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay, you can cut it off now.
Oh
But
my
anyway.
gosh. Oh my gosh.
Oh.
I'm literally I'm copying and pasting this link into my own notes so I can watch the entire thing later. This is one of the most amazing moments of my entire life.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm so
So-
happy right now.
Yeah, this is not how I expected today to go. By the
Me
way.
neither. Me neither, to be honest.
Showing arguably the most embarrassing video of me of all time on the internet. But it's great. Isn't that funny?
Peter, next time we have you on, can you dress up as different versions of Peter and I'll ask you questions?
Sure. Yeah.
This is what I like to see.
It's like the multiple personality.
Yeah, like Split.
Yep.
Yeah, that'll be perfect. That'll be perfect. Oh my goodness. I was gonna like go to break a while ago, but I couldn't go to break because this was way better than anything ever. And Peter, you're an awesome sport for playing
Thank
along
you.
with this and showing this stuff because a lot of people would bury this, like delete, and you didn't. And you made all of our lives
Oh man.
so much better for having seen this.
Oh
Tyler
man.
said
What a
this
show.
is the wildest show he's ever done in his entire life. And Tyler's done a lot of shows, not just for BSN, but in general.
What a pleasure. What a pleasure to be here
Wow.
with friends.
I don't even like, I'm trying to think of anything that could even come close to the realm of what you showed. Like, I'm trying to think of like, what was my most embarrassing moment? And I feel like the best I can come up with still pales in comparison. Like, I still feel like it's not even worth mentioning because of how gold this is.
I had a terrible speech impediment at that age too. Like I was going through therapy, and so like just even trying to talk was tough.
This is
But we did it.
now, and look where you're at now.
Look
Like,
at where I'm at.
You literally, like, part of your job is being a personality,
Yeah, I was a pretty big personality back then, but
but not in the same way. Not in the same way.
a valid personality.
Right. Look, Ed's inviting you onto his show on Monday, just
Heck
like right
yeah.
here.
Heck yeah.
I think you're about to book a daily show now. Not even just like a spot. You might have just booked a daily show.
Let's go.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
This is
man.
amazing. All right. Well, I know
What
I
a
know
show.
Dennis is about to come on the show. So let me get one more of these reads in real quick. I want to tell you guys about Real Time Sports. Play Real Time Sports Fantasy Football Best Ball Challenge. I love Best Ball. Peter, I know you love Best Ball.
Oh, yeah.
Compete for a grand prize of $25,000. I could use $25K. Could you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured. Enjoy the draft. Get your best possible lineup each week automatically. Live drafts happen every single night. Get our exclusive offer up to 100 deposit match, up to $200. Go to rtsports.com/alarm and use promo code alarm23. Please play responsibly. For help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Yes, and guys, there's so much more to Peter's life that people don't even know. Like, you told me all about like your stuff with like Bitcoin and all of that kind of stuff. Like, you have this whole like Bitcoin store. Like, man, I don't even know where to go from this. I think mentally, emotionally, borderline spiritually, I need to take a break here. But Peter, genuinely, and I say this as genuine as I possibly can, thank you for coming on tonight. Thank you for sharing all of these things. I know that we got so far off the rails from fantasy football, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. You're a great dude, so I appreciate it, buddy.
Oh, man. It was so fun. Thanks for having me on.
For sure, man. You have a good night.
See ya.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we will be back with Dennis Bennett here in a moment.
What can we expect from you out there on the track tonight?
Listen, I have a wife, 2 kids. I have, full-time jobs. I'm never nervous. I don't even know what that word means. Can you explain what nervous means? No. I'm ready to have fun. I've never done anything like this before. I got asked to be a part of this. This is fascinating. Like, it's so cool to just look around and see what goes on here. So I'm just excited to get out on the horse. And you want trash talk? Is that what you're asking me for? No trash talk. I hope everyone does well.
All right. Everyone's going to do well, but it has to be a winner. So give me your trifecta. Who's going to come in first, second, and third? Your heat.
I will go Maria 1, me 2, Willie 3, Moose goes 4th.
Well, it's very simple. I won this event last year. I won my heat, and so the defending champ has to be the favorite. Now, that makes me a little nervous just because I feel like it's hard to repeat. There's a little pressure when you're the favorite, but that being said, I'm still optimistic.
So your heat, it's you,
Yes.
Moose and Keith from Better Sports Network, and Willie Colon.
I think Keith might be my stiffest competition, and I asked for this because I actually recruited Keith, if you didn't know. So Keith, if you win, you're welcome.
Malusis is very good. I mean, he knows what he's doing, but I'm going to go with Maria.
Keith is waving to the crowd. He must pay attention because they're off. It's Mark Malusis going for the lead. Maria Marino on the outside, and now Keith Irizarry on the outside with speed, and they're 3 wide into the first turn. Woo! Mark Malusis is locked in for his life. 138 and 2. They're into the stretch. Sportscasters Derby 2. And still in front, Keith Irizarry. And now Mark Malusis is trying to squeeze on through.
Come on! Come on! Let's go! Come on, dig it! Yeah!
Keith Irizarry. Keith, you did it all the way, wire to wire, over Mark Malusis.
Awesome! That was so cool!
The champ is here! Keith, what was it like being out there? Adrenaline rush, you were doing the Instagram Live, so there was no panic. You looked cool, calm, collected the whole time, and you won it.
I felt really comfortable. I did. Like, I know you were joking with me before. Are you nervous? Are you whatever? What are you? David, the driver, was awesome. He's like, we're going to win this. I said, all right, let's win this. And he said, let's go. Yeah, I just felt really comfortable. I did. It was fun. We're in the lead. I got Maria Marino on the right side of me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's going to beat us, right? And then out of nowhere, you see Moose coming up this way, and we feel him breathing down our neck. And I'm like,
Moose
no,
on the loose. Watch
Moose.
out.
Moose was definitely on the loose, and we just got moose by a neck, a nose, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, but again, all of this for a great cause, and it was absolutely awesome to do this. It was cool.
All right, Keith, congratulations. And no matter what, you could always hold this over Moose's head.
Yeah!
Welcome back in. Man, Dennis, how much of that did you get to see?
Well, I was getting ready to hear this one time at band camp. I'm like, I didn't know where Peter was going. It just kept getting wilder and wilder.
It really did. That was one of the most fascinating segments I think I've ever done for anything ever. Ed says that you got some big shoes to fill now.
Yeah, I'm going barefoot because there's no chance.
There's zero chance. Although we've had some story times with you on here as well, Dennis.
Yeah, you know, I was street schooled, not homeschooled, and my stories
Very
I tend to get a
different
talking
ends.
to after I tell them, and so I'm going to kind of keep my stories off air. You know, I like doing this. I have a good time, so you know, we'll keep it PG and
Complete opposite ends of the spectrum. We have homeschooled, sheltered, the Dwight Schrute of life, to you have very crazy stories in your own right, just on the complete opposite ends of the spectrum. So we're all over the place here tonight on the Dynasty Nerds on the Better Sports Network show. But before we get into anything else, I do want to tell you guys about A Better Morning. Start every day with our new daily show, A Better Morning. The hottest topics in sports betting and fantasy sports. It's live at 8 a.m. Eastern on YouTube, Twitter, and bettersports.com. And then you can watch it anytime on demand. So if you're not a morning person, or maybe you're on the West Coast and you're like, look, that's way too early for me, you can watch it on demand. It's hosted by Andrew Cooper, Corey Parson, Britt Flynn, and Howard Bender. All right, Dennis. Whew. I need to breathe. I laughed so much and so hard. And I do a show with Rich Dotson. I don't know that I've ever laughed that much during a single show.
Well, Peter's so unassuming, and so you just don't I do a show with him every Tuesday night, so we're a little goofy. But man, he just kind of got rolling, and there's so much we don't know. We're gonna have to have a talk and look. You know, we're gonna do a deep dive.
We got to open this Pandora's box right here. All right. Well, first of all, let's talk about Scott Fishbowl 13. You are in it again this year.
I am.
How do you feel about your team now? You're done, right? Because you did one of the live drafts.
I did a live draft. Actually, I've got 4 more picks, so we're in round 19.
Okay, so how's the squad looking so far?
I got to be honest. I kind of like it.
Okay.
Which means it's going to be awful. You know, that's just how it works. So the way the scoring is, it really de-emphasized wide receivers. And so I was looking and I thought, well, I'm going to go. I took 107 because I wanted to be able to get at least one of the top tier quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And at 107, I had a choice of Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, and Justin Fields.
Who'd you go with?
I went Herbert.
Nice.
I think Fields is going to have a great year this year. I think that Lawrence is going to have a great year. Honestly, I probably have Fields third out of those 3. I just couldn't quite pull the trigger. As much as I want to believe in Fields, he's got to take a step in the passing game. And you know, maybe he will, maybe he won't. I don't know. I don't know how strongly I buy into the Eberflus-Getsy duo, but we'll see. I'm willing to watch that, and I went with Herbert because he's got the best weapons of the three guys with Keenan, Mike Williams, Quentin Johnston, and Josh Palmer, Evan Ingram, Austin Eckler. My hope was I wanted to grab Eckler in the second.
Yeah.
And he went 3 picks before me.
Okay.
I ended up going Josh Jacobs. Again, it emphasized running backs, tight ends, quarterbacks because of no negative points. Like last year, quarterbacks, the last 2 years, quarterbacks, your quarterback has a bad day, you get like negative 20 points.
Yeah.
And that this year, there's none of that.
It's much more minimized this year. It's a lot easier. After the huddle, appreciate it. Appreciate you tuning in. I don't know if you saw that last segment. Had nothing to do with football, but it was super fascinating. We've got Dennis Bennett here joining us, also of Dynasty Nerds. And we're talking a startup, but this isn't a startup dynasty. This is the Scott Fishbowl startup that we're touching on right now. Dennis, I actually did end up going with Justin Fields in the first round. I had the 109 pick, though. So I didn't get to choose between those 3 guys. All 3 of those, the only one that was left was Justin Fields. That allowed me to get to my boy Bijan Robinson in the second round. What did you do in the second round?
So I came back around, and I was, like I said, I wanted Eckler. I wanted to stack him with Herbert. And in this format, I don't necessarily know that stacking is a good or a bad strategy. I just know Eckler caught over 100 passes last year.
Right.
He's a really good running back. Scores a lot of fantasy points. And if he matches up with the quarterback I've already taken, that was great. Considered TJ Hawkinson because of the premium on tight end scoring. But in the end, I went with Josh Jacobs.
Are you worried about the holdout potential?
I'm a little nervous, but they've got to look at what happened with Lev Bell and realize it's a lose-lose situation when you hold out.
Yeah.
Even if you hold out for 6 or 8 weeks, it puts you in a bad spot. You're not going to get more money by holding out. They just don't care about running backs. Occasionally Jerry Jones, okay. Mark Davis, I don't think so. I think McDaniels out there is perfectly happy to roll out Brandon Bolden and Amir Abdullah.
And Zamir White. Don't leave my boy Zamir out of this. They just drafted him last year. Come on now.
I know, but he's got those tiny hands.
Oh, stop it.
So I think
you're just trying to hurt my feelings.
Zamir would get some substantial play, I think, if that were to happen. But I'm not gonna. I can't just sit back. I mean, Josh Jacobs scored the most running back points in the scoring format last year.
Yeah,
he's a volume back. He's gonna get lots of opportunity, and for me, I just went with Jacobs. I as much as I wanted to give Hawkinson a shot, I'm not sure what's going on in Minnesota. Yes, they looked great last year after they got him. They've got Justin Jefferson. They got rid of Dalvin Cook. Seems to point towards a little more volume in the passing game. But I wanted to go with the volume running back. And then with the third round reversal, the 107, I felt like I was going to be able to get a top tier quarterback. And I wasn't too far down with the third round reversal. So I ended up in the third round. Actually, I went Jonathan Taylor in the second, Josh Jacobs in the third. My bad. I looked at it.
Okay.
So I had Taylor, who was RB4 off the board, and then Josh Jacobs as RB9 in the third round. So I felt pretty good about them. And then I got Kyle Pitts in the fourth. Pitts was the tight end 4 off the board. When I passed on Hawkinson, I knew he wasn't going to make it back to me, and I was okay with that. Mark Andrews had went before my second round pick. I knew that was going to happen. I was in the 107 chat and looking at Jeff Lambert and his mock drafts he did for going for 2. He did close to 100 mock drafts for Scott Fishbowl.
Wow.
After he did, I think he did about 50 before the scoring was finalized. And then he did almost 100 after the scoring was finalized. And so I was using his ADP. And it was fairly reasonable. There were some that, people just didn't know what the ADP looked like. They weren't using it. People were drafting their guys. They were having fun. People were auctioning off picks. weird stuff happens. It's the Scott Fishbowl. It happens every year.
Sure.
So I was comfortable with the ADP. So came back, needed a second quarterback. I wanted a quarterback that was going to produce, had the potential to produce high numbers, no penalties for turnovers. I went with Aaron Rodgers in the 5th. So I feel like he's set up. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got Garrett Wilson. I feel like Garrett Wilson from year 1 to year 2 is going to take a Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase kind of year 1 to year 2 step. So I felt really good. So we're through 5 rounds, no wide receivers. And that was kind of my plan.
No, I like it. I didn't go quite as bold with you at the wide receiver position. But I had a similar concept. So I had Justin Fields at 1.9. At 2.4, I got Bijan Robinson. And then I did take my top receiver in CeeDee Lamb at 3.4 because in the 3rd round, he was falling a little bit. I thought it was good value. So I took him there. But quarterback was going fast and furious. I would have loved to have waited to the 5th, but I actually also got Aaron Rodgers, but I had to take him at 4.9, which was still below ADP. So you got a great value on Aaron Rodgers where you got him. And then I was 1 pick away from doing the opposite of what you did, getting Kyle Pitts. But Kyle Pitts went 1 pick before me in the 5th round. So I ended up settling for Darren Waller. And those were my first 5 picks. Only 1 wide receiver in the first 5 picks. And through what pick are we on now? Through 13, in the 13th round, I finally just got my 5th receiver. So lots of other positions sprinkled in there as well. All right, Dennis, let's get into players to avoid this coming season. So this can be players that we might want to look at avoiding for this specific season, or these could be players that you're looking to avoid in Dynasty. Now, I said a lot of mine earlier when Peter was on, but I do have another 1 or 2 that I'll mention while you're on with me. But why don't you give me your first one here, Dennis? Player that you are avoiding, whether it's in Dynasty or in 2023.
So I've avoided this player virtually his entire career.
There you go.
He's been pumped up, and I just don't buy it. It's Kyler Murray. He's been, and I know he's had some good seasons for fantasy, but it's on the back of him running. He's never passed for 4,000 yards. I don't know when he's going to play this year. In our ADP, he's going as QB 12 still, and he lost DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
And I get it. He's got his college teammate, Marquise Brown, there. The team is in a rebuild. His contract is cumbersome. So if they wanted to move him to potentially a better team, I don't know if they could next year. But they could be in the market for Caleb Williams the way this Cardinals team looked. I've rostered Kyler Murray 1 time, and that was in a 16-team league where I was competing and I was making a run and I had an opportunity, and so I traded for him. I needed a second quarterback. I made the run. I didn't make it to the title, but I was set up good for the next year, and I actually traded him away before the next season, which was last year when he got hurt. And last year I actually went on and won. First time my own league. After 6 years, I finally won it.
There you go.
It was we pay out weekly to the high score. We were 6 seasons in before I got a weekly high score payout. So
Oof.
That means I've struggled. But going into what was it, before the 2022 season, I think it was, I had the draft picks, drafted Najee Harris, Jamar Chase, and Kyle Pitts. So in a 16-team draft, that's pretty good for a rookie draft.
Heck yeah, it is.
But if Murray's going to be a good fantasy asset, it's got to be built on his running, and he just isn't big enough. And when he gets a little bit banged up and his running disappears, it hampers his passing ability because there isn't that threat. And I've never bought in at QB 12. I am so out. If I rostered him and I could get QB12 value, I would be selling him all day and twice on Sunday.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. I feel like it's funny because I feel like there's a lot of strong takes on Kyler Murray, whether he's, some people say he's a definite buy, some people say he's a definite sell. I feel like I'm a little Switzerland on it. Like, I feel like I don't have as strong of an opinion on him. Part of it, I can see him being undervalued right now. We've seen him be a top 5 quarterback before. But on the flip side, I can see some of the injury concerns. On the other side of it, even if he, the Cardinals suck, his contract's going to dictate that he's going to be a starter somewhere. But on the other side of it, once again, we could see just because he goes somewhere else doesn't mean that he's going to have success there long term. He's not the guy they drafted. So, like, I could go either way on that one, but I understand what you're talking about. I'm going to take a very highly rated player. This is actually the highest rated player that I've talked about. And in Fantasy Pros redraft ADP, he's the third player right now. Third player according to Fantasy Pros. That's Saquon Barkley. Now, I don't think Saquon Barkley is a bad player by any stretch of the imagination. I think he's a fantastic player. But I do have a few concerns taking him that high over some other players. Part of it is his schedule is not nice this year. In fact, once again, according to Fantasy Pros, 4th most difficult schedule for running backs. So he does not have an easy road as far as the defenses that he's going to face. And for as good as he was the first half of the season, he wasn't very good the second half of the season. In fact, he didn't have a single game with over 100 rushing yards from week 10 on. Not a single one. He had a couple decent receiving games in there, but he also had some other weeks where he had 2 catches. So, the last one, he had 2 catches for -5 yards. So I'm worried that maybe defenses have adjusted to what Brian Daboll's doing, and they're making Daniel Jones throw the football. They're not allowing, I don't know what it is. Like, I haven't watched enough tape to claim to know what it is. But even once it got to playoff time, they just didn't really lean on him. 9 attempts in their first game in the playoffs, 9 attempts in their second game of the playoffs. Like, just the rushing work and the rushing efficiency has me a little bit worried for him next year. So not a bad player, totally worthy of being a first-round pick, but I just have several players that I would rather have above him. I would rather have, that are being taken fairly significantly later, according to Fantasy Pros. Like, I would rather probably have, assuming he plays, Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, who are both going after him. I might even rather have Nick Chubb this season. So I just think his value is a little too high for what I'm willing to draft him.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. Barkley is a conundrum because he's so gifted athletically and he's so big. And I just don't know if did he ever really recover from the injury psychologically, because at 230 pounds, he should be able to convert to power probably better than he does, but he plays a little bit at 230 pounds. I think he tries to play the Austin Eckler game a little bit too much.
I could see that.
He can be successful with that, but I think what happens is that Brian Daboll's offense doesn't feed him the volume that Austin Eckler gets in the passing game, mixed with the running game or with the high leverage running game touches that Austin Eckler gets, because Eckler rushes for a lot of touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
He may only carry the ball 7 times, 8 times in a game, but 4 of them may be inside the 20-yard or 10-yard line where he's got an opportunity to score and he converts. I like Barkley a lot, but I agree with you. I just, even in redraft, I don't think I'm going Barkley in the top 5. I honestly, I think I'd take Josh Jacobs over him because I feel like Jacobs is going to get more volume. The downside with Jacobs is that quarterback situation could be iffy.
Sure.
Jimmy's got to be healthy. And then if Devontae Adams starts, he showed he was quarterback proof, but I don't know if anybody's Brian Hoyer proof.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. Who do you got next? Who's the next one on your list that you're kind of avoiding this year?
So, I love rookies because I play Dynasty. But even in Dynasty, I'm avoiding this wide receiver at value.
I thought for sure it was going to be Kincaid.
Nah,
I thought for sure that's who it was going to be.
I figure if I need another one, I can talk about Kincaid and tight ends writ large. No, it's Jordan Addison. He's going off in our ADP as wide receiver 20. And it feels to me like that's his ceiling. That's going to be his ceiling for his career. I don't know that he's going to be a wide receiver 1. 16 maybe, but especially if he keeps having to play across from Justin Jefferson and they have TJ Hawkinson, KJ Osborne isn't going away. Do I think Osborne's better than Addison? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I think Addison is going to be good and he'll have some spike weeks, but I don't think over the course of the year and over the course of the next, 5 to 7 years, I don't see him being finishing many seasons above 15. And so to me, that's not a big enough gap for me to want to go there. There's just other veterans with a little more established record that I would just as soon have. If I'm looking at, let's see, where can we go? So Brandon Ayuk, who I love, is going off at wide receiver 26. I think Ayuk is going to blow up this year. I think he's going to outscore Deebo Samuel. And up until this latest ADP, Samuel was they were going like back to back. Samuel has separated a few picks from him now. But I do think that Ayuk is good. If I'm going to draft one San Francisco wide receiver this year, even if he's the more expensive one, I'm drafting Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
So
no, I see how you turn this into a Jordan Addison hate to Brandon Ayuk love. I see what you did there.
Well, I lose track. Addison's going to be good, but he also has this. Now, I freely admit I have biases, and Jordan Addison is an elf.
Team small wide receiver.
I'm team big wide receiver. Yeah. I like, Jackson Smith and Jigba is probably as small as I like him at almost 5'11", 200 pounds. I want him to be a little bit bigger. And Addison just, what is he, 179 pounds, 5'10", 5'9"?
Yeah.
They just, so few of those guys put up wide receiver 1 seasons.
Yeah.
And well, I'm pulling for the little fella. I really am. I'm just not buying him at wide receiver 20 in a dynasty.
Well, Dennis, you actually have a person that's specifically asking you to rate their team. Now, I don't know if you can see this or not, but he said this is after the huddle, and he had Trevor Lawrence, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Ramondre Stevenson, Joe Mixon, Tua. I'm assuming this is a super flex league with them going first. After Tua, it's Christian Kirk, Keenan Allen, Laporta, Hyatt, Elijah Mitchell, Juju, Stafford, Hurst, Lockett, Chase Brown. And then, after that point, it's kind of all up in the air. But how do you feel like that team looks for you, Dennis?
So it looks like this was his startup he had mentioned that he was talking about. So love the Lawrence pick. Love Kelce. Even in round 2, I'm still good going Kelce. I think Kelce's, at some point we just have to say we're at the point with Travis Kelce that until he stops producing, he's the tight end 1. He's a difference maker.
Yeah.
He's the cheat code we all look for with a running quarterback. He's just it at tight end, and more so because he just separates so much from everybody else. So he's a guy that I'm willing to draft early in a startup and let him retire on my bench, even now. So I love that. Lawrence, I think he's ready to move into the upper echelon. Underrated athlete, 6'6", 225 pounder, good speed, looks to throw, but can run. Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, a little bit older. Ramondre Stevenson, Joe Mixon. Mixon's older, but he won the offseason. They brought in Chase Brown. That's Chase Brown. The dude from Michigan, Chris Evans, Travion Henderson, or Travion Williams. They didn't, unless they're going to bring in somebody, one of these free agents is still floating around out there that eventually is going to get a job, a Zeke or Kareem Hunt, Lenny Fournette. If they're going to bring in somebody like that, until they do, Mixon's winning. He's going to be the guy there. Chase Brown isn't going to take his job. It's just not going to happen. If Brown eventually does become the starter there when they move on from Mixon, it's going to be a timeshare. He's going to have the lion's share of the job like Mixon did. And then he went with Tua. I'm okay. At where Tua is going in our ADP, he was the next guy on my list that I'm out on. He's going QB right after. He's going right after Kyler, so he's QB 13. I feel like I'm not ready to take that risk.
Okay.
There, I'd take him probably QB 18, QB 17, QB 16.
Oh wow. Okay, so you're taking him after Daniel Jones, Cousins, Goff, guys like that.
Yeah, just because I feel like Tua's success is built on that offense and those two wide receivers.
Sure.
And it matters, but the injury risk to me is pretty big. Goff is going to have, I think his team is starting to flesh out and give him a good set of weapons. Daniel Jones, we got to see how the wide receivers develop there. I think Waller was a big add. If Isaiah Hodgins steps up, carries over this year, Paris Campbell, if he stays healthy, Wan'Dale stays healthy, there are some guys in New York that could help elevate Daniel Jones. I like Daniel Jones's running ability, though. He's a good athlete. As long as he doesn't, get turf tackled.
Dennis, did you see this comment? Ramen Denominator says Tua is a concastronaut. Concustronaut?
Well,
is that like a concussed astronaut? Is that basically what we're saying here? Because that's amazing. Great use of vocabulary there. No, I get what you're saying. I understand it, but at the same time, I would be more concerned or just as concerned about the guys right behind him, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, guys that we've never seen in bad situations. We've at least seen Tua. We've at least seen that he is a capable player of getting the ball down the field in a good offense. It really is. It comes down to injury. We don't know about Bryce Young, and we don't know that there's, decent talent around them. Right now, it doesn't look like there is. So for me, I'm more concerned about taking Bryce Young and CJ Stroud that early than I am Tua personally.
So this team is clearly built for win now. He went veteran heavy. And so I understand the Tua pick. I don't hate it. I just don't know if that's how I would have built it.
Well, but in a
look at
flex, that's
Christian
pretty
Kirk,
good value.
Keenan Allen, Juju, Stafford, Hurst, where he got Tyler Lockett, the police should be going to his house and questioning him. If he got Tyler Lockett, and what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Did he really get Tyler Lockett in the 15th round?
I think I want to cut out this section of you counting to 14, and I'm going to use that as like a GIF for stuff in the future of like how many championships I'm going to win or things like that.
I mean, because honestly, if he got Tyler Lockett in the 15th round, that was robbery.
Yeah.
Now, is Lockett 3 years from now? He's going to probably be gone. But right now, for a win now team, Lockett and Keenan Allen, those are two guys that are going to score an awful lot of points. I like the team for win now. You're going to have to start to look to the future.
Yeah.
And start, what's your plan? You've got a lot of age on this team. You're going to need to, hopefully you win, because that trumps everything. Winning titles trumps everything. And once you get the title, go for it. But if things go sideways and you look and all of a sudden, maybe you're 6-4, but you're 8th in points scored, don't hold any illusions that you're going to win that title.
Right.
You're going to need to start trading away pieces and getting younger real quick.
Yeah, he said he got Lockett in the 8th or the 16th round.
That's crazy.
That's pretty wild.
This goes to show I can't count to 16.
Well, there could have been trades and things in there, so you might have skipped some rounds because of moving up or moving down or whatever. But all right, last one for me here. We are running a little short on time. We haven't even got to talk about what we're looking forward to in 2023. But the one that I'm still avoiding at this point, and I think I touched on it. Maybe I haven't. I thought I've talked about this player, but I'm not sure that I have. I think I'm avoiding Pat Freiermuth. And it's not that I think he's a terrible player, because I actually think he's a very good overall player. But I'm not sure that he's going to be this elite receiving tight end. And we're still having to draft him in this awkward range of before the the Hail Mary guys, but have upside. That crew kind of starts with the David Njoku, Laporta, Michael Mayer, Evan Ingram, Chigo Okonkwo, Dulcich, Cole Kmet, like a lot of guys that I really like. I like that range of tight ends, and I'm getting to take those guys in the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th round. Whereas I have to take Pat Freiermuth around the 7 to 8 round turn there. And that's just so early to take a tight end that hasn't proven a single thing yet. And part of it is going back to just my general philosophy on the tight end position. I'm either not necessarily.
Oh, no, wait, that's my philosophy.
That's your philosophy. No, I'm usually either getting like a top 3 or 4 guy at the position, or I'm punting, because we've seen it over and over and over again. Outside of those top few guys, the point differential between tight end 6 and the tight end 16 is like 1.5 points. It's really never much. And good luck figuring out which one's the 6th and which one's the 16th, because it never seems to make sense at any point either. So I don't think he's a bad player. In fact, overall, I think he's very good because he's a good blocker and things like that too. But it's just too high for me to take an unproven tight end with capped upside in an offense that isn't a great passing offense.
Yeah, I think what they threw for as a team, I think 3,400 yards last year. I don't know what kind of step pick it takes. He completed 63% of his passes as a rookie. That's pretty good. But he only had 1 year in 5 years of college that he completed over 63% of his passes. So when I was looking at him, I kind of thought, he can take a step. But then when I looked at his college numbers, I was like, maybe not. Maybe 63%. Yeah. Now, 63%, not awful. It's kind of
not at all.
It's kind of a meh kind of
middle of the road
percentage. But if you want to get up to that 67, 68% is where you're going to really start to pick up lots of fantasy points. Your head coach is like, he's going to complete it. We're going to throw it more. It's going to, success begets success is what I'm saying. I'm not sure George Pickens is going to feed into that. I think Deontay Johnson, I think he's going to have a career year.
Yeah, I'm with you.
He's primed for fantasy. He's going to be great because he's going to score some touchdowns. I think if he gets, we may be looking at 90 catches, 1,250 yards, and 6 or 8 touchdowns out of Deontay Johnson this year.
Other than last year, he's averaged 6.5 a season.
Yeah, and those things just happen. So but I don't think the volume to spread across the entire team is going to be there. Pickens will have his moments. I think Allen Robinson will even have some. Calvin Austin. Najee, is he going to catch 70 passes like his rookie year? Probably not, but he's probably going to be somewhere between last year and his rookie year. So, let's give him 50 catches, 48 catches. Jalen Warren may get some, but I think it's Najee is going to be the workhorse there. So I like Pickett, but I don't love him.
All right, Dennis, let's switch over and look at the 2023 season. And what's one thing that you are looking forward to, whether it's a player, a situation, a team, just a general feeling, like what's something that you're looking forward to in the 2023 campaign?
So I'll give you two things because one's going to be real quick.
All right.
And that's the Hall of Fame game, Cleveland versus the Jets, because football's back, baby.
Woo!
So, this doesn't mean shit for fantasy, but we just started releasing our fantasy forecast articles. We go team by team based on record. And so the Chicago Bears were the first one. And Matthew Mitchell, who is our resident Bears fan, very optimistic. I had to temper a little bit. But he sold me on Khalil Herbert. Herbert had 731 yards rushing last year on 129 attempts, 5.7 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns, and he showed explosiveness. I don't know what he's going to bring to the table in the passing game. I think he only caught 12 passes last year. He's going to have to improve that. But he gives the running game something Deontay Johnson doesn't and something Roshan Johnson doesn't, or Deontay Foreman. And that's explosiveness. We saw him last year when he got in there. He was making plays and breaking off some big runs. And I think that's going to give him the opportunity to play more. And I think that's going to put him at the forefront of their running game. He's not a big guy, just under 5'9", but he's almost 210 pounds. So he's short big. And he's got good speed. He wasn't super athletic. His RAS score was only about a 6.9. But a lot of that was on his measurements. He had what is it? Is seven what you're aiming for? Better than a 7 on the 3 cone, I think, if I remember correctly. He had a 6.9.
Yeah.
So he was under that threshold. So he's got some good lateral movement. I think he's gonna. I'm kind of believing if he can get 175 to 200 carries, I think he may get to 1,000. Bless you.
I know. I'm trying to hold in these sneezes, not sneezing on the mic here.
So I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to, the Chicago Bears improving overall. I think DJ Moore is going to have a good year. They're still going to be bottom 10 in pass attempts. Let's not kid ourselves. But DJ Moore is going to be the number one. Darnell Mooney is going to be great for best ball because he's their deep threat. I know you love Cole Kmet.
Yeah, I do.
The running backs are going to start off as a 3-headed monster, but I think Khalil Herbert separates himself. I think he reaches 1,000 yards this year.
Interesting. Hey, it could definitely happen. I am really interested to see that offense too. That's a team that I'm excited about because I have a lot of pieces there. I have a lot of Fields. I have obviously a lot of Cole Kmet, a decent amount of DJ Moore, and even a decent amount of their running backs, kind of each one of them all sprinkled in there a little bit. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. Oh, another one that I talked about specifically the Hard Knocks earlier. I don't know if you caught that. That's something that I'm really, really, excited to watch and see how that plays out this year. But one of the things I'm really looking forward to, and this is going to sound a little front runner-ish, and I don't mean for it to, but I'm really excited to watch Pat Mahomes this year because I think we are starting to see the possibility of a player that could catch Tom Brady as the GOAT. Will he? Probably not. The amount of Super Bowls that man went to and won is an absurd number. But if there's a single player in the league that could do it, it's Pat Mahomes. And so I'm really excited to see if he can do that because, look, we don't get to watch legendary players very often. You went from Jordan to Kobe to LeBron. In that span, what? Jordan started in 84? and we could say we've had like 3 legendary players in the NBA during that time span from 84 to now. There's just not many of them that come into the game. And honestly, before Brady, we probably didn't have anybody in the NFL that you would consider even rivaling for the GOAT since probably Joe Montana. He was the last one. So can Pat Mahomes win it again? Can he cement himself? Can he win another MVP? Can he do these things that really get that conversation going? Because right now, it's not a conversation. It's absolutely Tom Brady. But if you look at it where Tom Brady was at his career compared to where, in the same amount of time where Pat Mahomes is, that is a conversation. So where does Pat Mahomes pick up in this potential GOAT race?
I think the challenge with Mahomes is the same thing Tiger Woods faced. So came out a lot younger than Jack Nicklaus. Mahomes, the same thing. He hit earlier than Tom Brady did, especially when it comes to the numbers. I think Brady did well with the titles, but
sure.
Mahomes isn't going to have to play till he's 45 to put up substantially better passing numbers than Brady did. The first, 10 years of Brady's career, 8 years of Brady's career, he wasn't known for his passing.
No.
But also Andy Reid being older, I think that, I don't know if Reid will be there. Will he be able to keep up with the game as he ages? How long is he going to coach? Brady and Belichick were together for 20 years. It's
true.
That's going to be an obstacle.
That'll be very interesting to see. Well, Dennis, that about wraps things up for us tonight. Awesome show tonight. Thank you once again to Peter and all of the things that happened during his segment. Dennis, thank you so much for coming on, joining us. Of course, you can find him at Culture Coach on Twitter. Dennis, anything that you want to touch on before you get out of here?
Join us in the Discord on Tuesday nights. You'll get all the Peter you can handle.
We might need to
come out like I thought it did.
No, I don't think that's what you meant to say.
I'll talk to you soon, boss. Better boss.
Yeah, you're about to get a call. We're about to get a call. Oh man. All right. Well, you can find me on Twitter at Dynasty Price. All kinds of good stuff going on. You can find me on the Dynasty Nerd Show as well. Just started a new show with my good friend Jared Wackerly called Talkin' Dynasty. You can find that as a podcast, but also you can find that on the YouTube page as well. So follow me, follow Jared Wackerly as well for any new updates on that. Well, for myself, for Peter, for Dennis, for Heavy T behind the glass, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys next Thursday.